Welcome everyone to Wednesday Night Live Crafting. So tonight I thought I would bring you a fancy fold. So we're going to be using poinsettia petals, and of course I'm going to be using the beautiful Whimsy and Wonder paper. So in those non-traditional, although this sort of side of the paper is sort of traditional in that it's still got the greens, the mossy meadow and the mint macaron. Of course, the Blushing Bride, and this one is your mint macaron side. But of course, when you well, that's trees, so that it is traditional on these patterns. But when you turn that over, probably not your traditional Christmas colour. But we're going to be using this side tonight and this side of this paper. The other thing we're going to be using, and I know that you can't really see that probably in the camera, but probably just looks like basic white, but it's actually the snowy white velvet paper. So let me just move this stuff all out to the side, and I'll bring in the card and show it to you before we get started. So it's a bit hard to see on the camera, but this is our card here. So I'll show it to you folded flat first of all. And then it stands up like this. So can you actually see that if you can see that so much in the camera? But it's called I think it's a diamond easel fold. So and I'm going to be doing some blending with the ink and the blending brushes on that beautiful velvet paper. So let's get started. I'll bring in the supplies. I'll just bring in my trimmer. So we're starting with a piece of thick basic white, and I'm just going to cut that down to 14 centimeters wide. Now you don't need to worry too much about writing down the measurements, because I will be popping something up on my blog, so you'll be able to find all the measurements over there. But it probably won't be until later tomorrow or maybe even Friday before the dimensions are up. And then I'm just on the long side, I'm going to cut that at 28 centimeters. Okay, so this is going to be our card base. Let me just, should be able to bring that in so that we've got a little bit more room. So now I just need to find a pencil. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to just place a little tick mark in with my pencil at the halfway mark at the top and the bottom. So I'm lining this left-hand edge up with the 7 centimeter line because this is 14 centimeters wide. I'm just going to put in the channel there, I'm just going to put a tiny little mark at the top and at the bottom. Okay, so now I'm just going to turn it to the long side and I'm going to score at 7 centimeters and at 14 centimeters. Okay, so I'll just move my scoring blade out of the way. Now I'm going to line that pencil mark up in the top of the channel there and right down to the point of the score line. So I don't know if you can see, I'll try and get that up closer in the camera. So I'm actually going to be cutting from this point here down to this score line here. So you see that? So that will give us that sort of pointy diamond look. So just make sure that those points are lined up in the channel, and then you can just cut that. Then I'm just going to turn that around and I'm going to do the same to the other side. So line up that pencil mark at the top there, and then my score line at the bottom. It's a little bit hard to see with the okay, so we're just going to pop those things out of the way. Okay, so now we can actually, I'm going to fold on those score lines. Then I'm just going to line it up with the point that's at this end, the mark that I made there. And I'm just actually going to draw, you could actually just put it back in the channel and do exactly the same as I did for the other end, but I'm just going to draw a pencil mark, so I just find it easier to do that. So this time we don't have a score line here, because this is actually the base of our card where we've got our easel. So we don't actually have a score line, so this is why I find it's just easy just to mark it with pencil. Then I'm going to bring my trimmer back in, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but I'm going to cut along that pencil line. So there you go, that's basically the basis of our card. So we're going to start with two pieces of mint macaron cardstock, and they're cut at 9.5 centimetres square. So 9.5 by 9.5, and you'll need 2 of them. And then you'll need 2 pieces of that beautiful holly paper, which are just slightly smaller, so 9 centimetres by 9 centimetres. And I'm just going to mat those together. Okay, so this is actually going to go on here onto our front fold, and this piece here is going to go inside our card on the point there. Okay, so we'll actually, but before I do that, I think I'll actually assemble all of the layers. That might be the easier way. So we also have a piece of mint macaron that's 6.5 centimetres square, and a piece of the coordinating DSP that is 6 centimetres square. And I'm just trying bringing my trimmer in and out here. And I'm just going to cut that in half on the diagonal. So from point to point, just line it up in your channel and cut that in half. And I'm going to do the same with the pattern paper. All right, so now we're just going to do our layering on that as well. So the other piece that we have is our final piece that we're layering here. So this is a rectangle that is, I think it is 7.5. No, might be wrong. Might be 6.5 centimeters. So 6.5 centimeters by 13.5 centimeters. And again, our pattern paper is just slightly smaller, so 6 by 13. So now we're going to close up our card, and we're going to add all of our panels. So this panel will go up here, and we're going to add this piece to the front here, but on the diamond there, so it fits in that point there. And we're only going to put adhesive in this half, because when our card stands up like an easel, we want that piece to actually be free of any adhesive. We don't want it stuck down to the back there. So I find it easy just to put my adhesive on here. Then I know that I'm not getting adhesive where it's not supposed to be. Okay, so now we're just going to open up our to the inside of the card, and we're going to pop this piece here. And it can be adhered all the way around. So this would be where you have a directional pattern. You would need to be making sure that that's pointing in the right direction. In this case, it doesn't really matter. Now we're just going to bring in our corner pieces, and they're going to go in here. So that's the basis of our card there. So let's see how that looks in the camera, but I have to give it that couple of seconds for the Facebook stream to catch up so I can see that you can actually see what it looks like. And now we're going to go ahead and do our decorating here on the front. So we'll just put that to the side for the moment. So now I've gone ahead and I've already cut some of the Ponsettia petals from the velvet paper. I'm just going to cut a couple of holly leaves. So just give me a tip to do that. All right, so now I'm just going to blend some of the Blushing Bride ink using my blending brush onto the velvet paper, and I actually find that it takes it really, really well. I would always start off your on your scratch paper first, so that you just don't get a big dark blob in the middle. But you can start blending from the center and then out to the end of your petals, so that you get, you know, a darker center like you would with a real flower, like it would look in nature. And then you just keep doing that until you're happy with the depth of color. And honestly, so you can see, bring that up to the camera, you can see how that, you know, that's taken the ink really well. But I've also, because I use the embossing part of the dies as well, and it does that really well on the velvet paper as well. So you can see that beautiful embossing on the petals as well. We'll just go ahead and do the rest of them. So now I'm going to swap my brushes over, and I'm just going to do the holly in the mint macaron. So I'm actually just going to layer those poinsettias together now with a dimensional in between. So I'll leave one on the bottom there for when I attach it to the card. So, this is what I did find. I think, yes, when I first made this card, what I did find was that dimensionals don't stick very well to the velvet. So what I did was, now it's all coming back to me. So this is what happens when you make cards well in advance, you know, of when you're going to demonstrate them, is you can't remember what you did. And I actually used a bit of Tombow in between. The other thing that I'm using here, which is a retired product, and I very rarely do that, those who know me will know that I don't tend to demonstrate with retired products, but I'm using the bedazzling sort of that glow meshy type paper from the last celebration catalogue, because I just love it so much. I just really can't say goodbye to it. So, and I had quite a bit of it left over, so I've just cut the centerpiece from using the little die from that paper, and I'm just going to add it to the center there. And I really, really hope hope, fingers crossed, that they actually at some point bring this paper back, maybe in an annual catalogue or a holiday catalogue, because I really just loved it so much. I'm only cutting little bits out of it because I really don't want to use it all up. But so you'll see here in the sample, I've cut some of the holly berries from that paper, as well as that center one. Okay, so I'm going to just do some stamping now. So I'm just going to stamp those those berries, and I'm just going to do one in the mint macaron. I just used this stamp pad the other night, so I'm not sure why it's so tight. It should have worked its way loose now. And let me see what the other, I think there's another one in here that's a little bit more solid. Actually, no, that's what I did. I forgot that there was one where you can stamp the this little stamp here, so you can stamp the inside of your berries. And one in Blushing Bride. All right, so I'm just going to quickly pop up and die cut those with the coordinating die. So now really I'm just going to take the dimensional off that, and they seem to have stuck quite well now. So so the other thing I think I did, which I'm not going to do here because I've already put this all together, when I did my sample, was that I actually just used a stylus to actually give the petals and the holly some dimension. So actually I'll just do it on the holly leaves. So on my paper piercing mat, just bring in your holly. And I've actually got, you can do it with a spoon or you can do it with your stylus, but I've actually got one of these tools, which is actually a cake decorating tool, actually, I think, something for, for using on your icing or your fondant. And I'm just giving it a bit of a rub with that on the mat, and that will just make it curl up just a little bit. So it gives you that, again, that realistic look. I'm just going to pop a bit of liquid glue on the back of those. I'm just going to put a little bit on the point, and I'm just going to sort of pop those in behind my poinsettia there. So here I've pre-cut some of, like I said, some of those, some of that holly from the bedazzling paper. I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue on that and just poke it in again underneath my flower. Hopefully I'm not working too much off camera there and you can all see what I'm doing. So you don't need Tombow over the whole thing. You just need enough that it's actually going to stay adhered to your card. A little one here in Blushing Bride. So really this is just, you're free to decorate this in whatever way works best for you. So that's the front of our card finished here. So now I'm just going to do the label. And so I've used the lovely labels punch to do my label here. So this is a great punch because It's got two different types of ends for your I'm trying to get that so it doesn't, so you can see the reflection. So it's got two different shapes at the end, and it's got three different sizes. So I've cut my largest label, which is in the mint macaron. So I just cut that to 2.5 centimeters wide, and it's about, I don't know, 7.5 centimeters long, I think. And I'm going to use this this end here. So I'm just going to pop it into the channel there and push it all the way to the end. And then what I like to do is I like to turn my punch over so that I can actually see where it's punching and make sure that it's lined up properly. And because it's a short piece of paper, sometimes you just need to wiggle it across a little bit because you want it to be even, and then punch it there. And then I'm going to take it out and do the other end. So if that was a longer piece of paper, when you turn it over, it's a bit easier to wiggle it around. But given that it's pretty short, so I'm going to punch that there. And that will give me my my base. And then I've just done the same again with a piece of basic white, which I've cut down to, I think it's just under 2 centimeters, so about 1.9 centimeters. And again, I've just cut that in the same way that I did the macaron. So now I'm just going to stamp that with one of the sentiments from the Ponsettia petal. So I'm using the Warm Wishes from Our Home to Yours. And I'm going to stamp that in mint macaron. So I'm actually going to just put that on with a bit of liquid glue. But we will want it to sit up so that it helps hold our easel standing up. So I'm just going to use dimensionals on the back of that. And then I'm just going to pop that just in the center there. Okay, so now our card will, with those dimensionals behind it, it will actually sit up like an easel. So there's a new fancy fold for you, or maybe it's not new for some of you. Maybe you've already tried one like this. So there you go, there's our final card, a diamond easel.